All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of D&D Deep Dive, the show where we dive deep into classes, subclasses, and other features of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons to help you get the most out of your choices. So, today, we're actually going to cover two subclasses, mostly because I've already covered one of them, and the changes from Unearthed Arcana to Tasha's are really minimal. So we're going to very briefly talk about the Circle of Stars Druid and just the minor changes they made to that. And then we are going to go into the Circle of Wildfire Druid. So, quick reminder about how 5th edition class design works. Every class is supposed to play very differently right from the beginning. And in order to do that, each class has what we call defining features. And those defining features should show up within the first two levels. For the Druid, the two defining features are, first of all, it's spell casting just in general. The Druid is the only nature-based full spellcaster, and so they have quite a few spells that are very much unique to the Druid. In addition to that, they also have what's called Wild Shape, which gives Druids the ability to change form into various beasts. And depending on your subclass, that will sometimes expand the number of things you can transform into. But that Wild Shape ability really gives the Druid a versatility that is really absent with any other class, because they can wild shape into things that eventually they can wild shape into things that can breathe underwater and have swim speeds. Eventually they get the ability to wild shape into things that can fly. It effectively means their ability to explore and go really anywhere they want to is incredibly expanded. And some of the most useful things they can turn into are simple things like mice or other rodents and things like that, or maybe a mole or something small, inconspicuous that allows them to get into areas they normally couldn't. So in general, any subclass should modify how those work in some way, either modify the spellcasting or modify the wild shape in some way. So first things first, the Circle of Stars. The Circle of Stars Druid, almost a year ago now, I actually covered it. If you want to see the coverage there, you can just head back to just go back in the playlist. It's right there. It's labeled as the Circle of Stars Druid, so it's really easy to find. But effectively, they get the ability to wild shape into this astral form, or specifically a starry form, where they get to pick one of the three constellations, and the constellation appears on them and gives them various abilities. You have Archer, Chalice, and Dragon. Archer effectively gives them a ranged spell attack that they can use as a bonus action. Chalice is their kind of healing version, and Dragon effectively gives them huge benefits to making concentration checks. So it's really interesting. Again, it changes very little from the Unearthed Arcana. Starry Form, the second level of ability, stays the same. Cosmic Omen, which is the 6th level ability, stays the same. Twinkling Constellations is the 10th level of ability. And that is a new ability, which is effectively it makes the archer's bonus attack or bonus action attack do more damage. It goes from 1d8 to 2d8. And the additional healing you get from Chalice again increases to 2d8. And then while you have Dragon on, you have a flying speed up to 20 feet and can hover. And then at the start of each of your turns, while you're in Sisistari form, you can change which constellation glimmers on your body, which is really, really nice. And then the 14th level of ability is the old 10th level of ability, which just gives you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So that's really the only changes. And again, because the changes are relatively minor, it doesn't really change what I said the last time I covered it. It's still a really interesting subclass. The fact that you can now change constellations right at I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe that's new. But the ability to change at the beginning of your turn gives you a lot more of a versatility. The fact that they make the attack and the healing just a little bit more powerful is really, really nice, and giving the flying speed to Dragon is really nice. But again, there's not a whole lot of change from the time I covered it last time, so that's really all I have to say. I still think it's super cool. I still want to see. I still think it could be a ton of fun to play. Excuse me. So let's go to the Circle of Wildfire. This particular subclass actually, I have a bit of a personal connection to it, because one of the campaigns that I ran, we actually ended that campaign and started a new one with the same players. Was a Tyranny of Dragons campaign, and one of the players played a druid named Enna, and Enna had this thing for fire. The new character that player plays is a Bard Warlock multi-class, and she still has a thing for fire. Fire is the answer to everything. And that campaign is where I get that phrase from, because they find ways to use fire for everything. So seeing this Circle of Wildfire Druid instantly made me think of Enna and her crazy amount of fire. And looking through it, it's a really interesting class. Just excuse me for just one second. There we go. So sorry about that. I had something in my throat. It was driving me nuts. So, the Circle of Wildfire Druid really is that kind of combination, that idea of kind of the raw power of a wildfire combined with the healing and the nature of it. If you're not aware, forests have forest fires fairly often, and well, I don't know about often, but they have them regularly. And bark and things like that is a natural defense against these fires. Wildfires are meant to clean up some of the debris and everything from the trees losing their leaves every year, and grass dying and regrowing and things like that. They are actually a good thing. Because not only do they get rid of all this kind of trash from the forest, but burning it and everything actually enriches the soil. So while, yes, wildfires can be very, very destructive, as we've seen countless times over the past few years here, they also can be a very beneficial thing. And I think this subclass really walks that line really well. So... let's jump into the abilities themselves. The first thing you get at level 2 is your circle spells. This is basically everything other than the PHB Druid classes always will have these additional spells they get, and technically the Circle of Land got circle spells. So really everything but the Circle of the Moon to the Druid. And it's additional spells. They're spells that they always have prepared. They don't count against the number of spells you can prepare a day. Some of these are spells that are not on the Druid's spell list, so they give them access to unique spells. Specifically for Circle of Wildfire spells, you're probably not going to be particularly surprised with these spells. Things like Burning Hands, Flaming Spear, Scorching Ray, Fire Shield, Flame Strike. All things that make perfect sense. You also get some stuff, Cure Wounds, Revivify, Aura of Life, Mass Cure Wounds. So it really does kind of bridge that gap between the just pure, powerful, destructive nature of fire and the healing nature that Wildfire can have on a forest. So kind of cool, kind of interesting. The other thing that you get at second level is Summon Wildfire Spirits. And this really is kind of the defining feature of this subclass. As an action, you can expend one use of your Wild Shape feature to summon your Wildfire Spirit rather than assuming beast form. The spirit appears in an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 30 feet. Each creature within 10 feet of the spirit, other than you, when it appears, must succeed on a dex save or take 2d6 fire damage. Just like any of the other Tasha summon spells, it shares your initiative count, takes its turn immediately after you. The only action it can take is the dodge action, unless you use your bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. And then if you're incapacitated, the spirit can take any action of its choice. The spirit manifests for an hour until it's reduced to 0 hit points, or until you use this feature to summon the spirit again, or until you die. So quick caveat there. It is until you die, not until you go unconscious. So it can still act and react when you are unconscious. Overall, it does have its own custom stat block, which is really nice. I like that Tasha's, all of their summons come with a stat block. They don't pull a monster stat block and have you use that instead. And the Wildfire Spirit gets more powerful as you do. Hit points are 5 plus 5 times your Druid level, so it's not going to be getting one shot and be kind of a waste of your Wild Shape. It's got 30-foot speed, a 30-foot flying speed, and can hover. It's got 60 feet of dark vision. And it's got 2 actions it can do. It has Flame Seed, which is a ranged weapon attack that does a d6 plus your proficiency bonus fire damage. Then it has Fiery Teleportation, which is really interesting. The spirit and each willing creature of your choice within 5 feet of it teleport up to 15 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Then each creature within 5 feet of the space that the spirit left must succeed on a dex save or take a d6 plus your proficiency bonus fire damage. So there's a lot to unpack with this Wildfire Spirit. First things first, we talk about action economy a ton, because action economy is really, really important in 2nd edition. Whichever side has more actions they can do has the advantage. And this effectively means for an hour, which is a pretty good period of time, your Druid has a constant use for their bonus action. And Druids in general are not huge bonus action dependent, not like monks or rogues where they constantly have things to use their bonus action for. Generally, you use your bonus action to wild shape if you're a moon druid, and maybe like healing word or a bonus action kind of spell. This gives them a really useful way to use their bonus action. It doesn't limit them in any way because they can still use their action to do their spell casting, which is what this class is really going to be doing a lot of. And there is so much versatility built into the Wildfire Spirit. It's got a ranged attack, so you can use it basically just to add more damage. And as I've said many times before, a D6 plus your proficiency bonus is not going to be a game-changing amount of damage. But for a bonus action, it's not bad. However, the ability to force a spellcaster to make an additional concentration check is always useful. And the range is 60 feet. So it's got a pretty decent range for its ranged attack. Now, the fiery teleportation is massively game-changing because this is pure control. Not only is this something that does actual damage, which is nice. This does area damage. So in a pinch, you can literally just have your Wildfire Spirit fly into a group of enemy and then fiery teleport out of them, and each one of the people in that group is going to take a d6 plus your proficiency bonus damage, and that's really useful. However, the spirit and each willing creature of your choice within 5 feet of it teleport up to 15 feet. So you can use this as effectively a free bonus action teleportation. And there are so many instances where that is massively useful. I've mentioned this before. Teleportation is really good anytime you are grappled or restrained. And there's quite a few monsters that part of their attack is an auto grapple or an auto restrain, where if they hit you, you are grappled. And depending on the character that is grappled, that can be really detrimental. You know, if your wizard is grappled and now can't get away, that can be a huge issue. So being able to send your Wildfire Spirit over and literally just yoink anyone out of a bad situation you need to is super useful. Now, on the other side, being able to take a group of melee fighters behind enemy lines to go ravage the casters that are sitting in the back that are just lobbing, you know, spells and fireballs and other things at you is devastating. Especially if you think in three-dimensional terms. Something that's incredibly common to do is have your caster or your ranged attacker on a cliff or something higher up than everybody else, so that they don't have to worry about getting attacked by melee, and perhaps they can have partial or half or the three-quarter cover up there, and really just be able to rain down damage. With this, just send your Wildfire Spirit over there. You know, get a group of like your monk, your barbarian, and maybe a fighter, and send them in. Because it's any creature within 5 feet, there are 8 spaces that are around, that are within 5 feet of a creature. So you theoretically could teleport your entire group 15 feet at a time, wherever you need to go. You have the group stuck in jail, summon your spirit, teleport out of the jail. You will leave scorch marks on the jail, but you know, when you need it, when you need it, you need it. It is such an interesting way to, first of all, give you kind of a pet class without it being super overpowered, because it uses your wild shape of a feature, so it already has limitations built in, and there's just so much you can do with this creature. Like, it's just such a cool thing. So yeah, really love that. At 6th level, you get Enhanced Bond. Whenever you cast a spell that deals fire damage or restores hit points while your Wildfire Spirit is summoned, roll a d8 and you get a bonus equal to the number rolled to 1 damage or healing roll of that spell. In addition, when you cast a spell with a range other than self, the spell can originate from you or your Wildfire Spirit. So the second part is effectively the same thing that you get with any kind of like find familiar kind of spell. You can cast from their spot. It's useful. It effectively means you can increase your range significantly, which is really, really nice. However, this also gives you additional damage anytime you're using fire damage or you're restoring hit points. So again, straddling that barrier of wildfires that consume and wildfires that heal and nourish is really, really interesting. Now, it does say you gain a bonus equal to the number rolled. You don't add additional to the d8, so crits and things like that, you're not going to be able to double that damage. But beyond that, this is just extra damage or extra healing. And extra healing is something you don't see a ton in 5th edition. Healing in general, I think 5th edition has a great way to do healing. However, I will always be in love with 4th edition healing because your leaders very rarely, if ever, had to sacrifice their action to do their healing abilities. They could, or their major action. They could use their minor action to heal. And because it was based on healing surges, the people that needed more hit points would get more hit points because they would have a larger healing surge value. It also made Constitution even more useful than it normally is, and there were actually feats that were built that would actually increase your healing surge value, give you extra healing surges. So I think 5th edition healing does kind of take a step back slightly to the previous version of healers in general, where it's like, oh, I spend my turn healy, and that's all I do. They do have some bonus action spells that allow them to heal and to do other things, so a little more active than maybe like a 3rd or a 2nd edition cleric. But you very rarely, if ever, get any sort of bonus to your healing, or if it is, it's simply oh, you can add your wisdom modifiers, so something like that. This gives you an extra d8 to your healing every single time. I think it's really interesting. I think it can be really, really fun, and it makes every healing spell that you cast that much more useful, which is always nice. Add to the 10th level, you get Cauterizing Flames. When a small or larger creature dies within 30 feet of you or your Wildfire Spirit, a harmless spectral flame springs forth in the dead creature's space and flickers there for 1 minute. When a creature you can see enters that space, you can use your reaction to extinguish the spectral flame there and either heal the creature or deal fire damage to it. The healing or damage equals 2d10 plus your wisdom. And you can use this reaction number of times you get your proficiency bonus, get them all back on a long rest. This is super cool. First of all, this is a reaction ability. Again, more abilities and more actions you can use on a turn means your team is going to do better. So that, first of all, is super cool. Second of all, this is effectively free healing or free damage, and 2d10 plus your wisdom modifier is not a small amount. So there's just so many different ways you can use Cauterizing Flames. You can use it almost exclusively to keep your team alive. Just have your players kind of run through the area where an enemy died to get their hit points back. Again, 2d10 plus your whiz is easily 1 or 2 attacks that have just been negated from getting healing back. And if it's something like a barbarian that has resistance to a lot of the damage, you're effectively getting double the usefulness out of it. In the exact other way, you can use this. You can have your team basically bait enemies into going through these areas, so they just get additional damage. This turns encourages your entire team to be very tactical about where they engage the enemy, which is this is something that I think a lot of 5th edition players don't think about as much. They will think about how they're engaging the enemy, and they may think about enemy positions as far as where are they in relation to me. But I don't see a lot of 5th edition players really looking at the terrain that they're on and thinking about, is it going to be more advantageous for me to fight them over here? Is it going to be more advantageous for me to fight them here? And so this Cauterizing Flames really adds a massive amount of tactical aspects to your entire team, not just the Druid. So yeah, I love that. Super cool. Encourages working together. Big plus for me. Finally, at 14th level, we have Blazing Revival. If your spirit is within 120 feet of you when you're reduced to 0 hit points and thereby fall unconscious, you can cause the spirit to drop to 0 hit points. You then regain half your hit points and immediately rise to your feet. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. This is Get Out of Death of a free card. And wow, is it useful. Especially if it's something that's unsuspected. You're playing and an enemy gets a random crit against you and takes a lot more hit points than you are suspecting. Or you have a wild magic as a sorcerer that accidentally casts a fireball on himself and ends up hurting the team. Having your druid be able to effectively just get out of death for free can be super useful, because again, the combination of destruction by fire and healing by fire means if most of your team goes down or most of your team gets hurt and your druid would have gone down, being able to come back, first of all, with half your hit points is major. Second of all, they can to turn around and do something like a mass cure wounds, which can affect your entire team. And if you have an additional wild shape before you cast the mass cure wounds, you can resummon your oh wait, no, that's an action. Never mind. I was gonna say, well, you can do this. You could still do a bonus action heal, like a healing word to get someone up. Use your action to summon your Wildfire Spirit again, and then the next turn you could mass cure wounds, specifically because you would get that additional D8 of healing when you have your Wildfire Spirit up there. So just a lot of different things that you can use Blazing Revival for, and that is definitely an ability that could be used to get the team out of super bad situations. So final thoughts. I love this subclass. I think the overall theme itself is really interesting. When people hear wildfires, especially recently, they just think about the destruction and just the bad parts of it, which are a real thing. I'm not trying to downplay any of that. However, wildfires are a natural thing that happens in the forests on purpose. They are a method to clean up the forest. They're a method to enrich the soil to help more things to grow. And so I love that this takes the viewpoint of, yes, it can be incredibly destructive, but it can also be incredibly healthy and renewing. And I love that this kind of straddles those two ideas so perfectly. Wildfire Spirit is awesome. It's super interesting. I love having a little fire dude that wanders around, you know, your little fire friend. The ranged attacks are kind of useful, but I gotta say the fiery teleportation is by far the best aspect of the Wildfire Spirit. And when you summon it, it actually does a little bit of area damage right when you summon it. So in addition to just summoning it, you're also doing damage with it. So really cool. Enhanced Bond is always useful. Cauterizing Flames is such a cool ability, and it encourages your entire party to think very tactically about where they're engaging enemies as opposed to just when they're engaging it. So I love that. And then Blazing Revival is such a cool, interesting ability. I could definitely see myself playing a Circle of Wildfire Druid and having a blast. So yeah, that is going to be all for me. As always, if you enjoy this, please hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me, and it actually helps other people to see the video. I have gotten more growth in this channel in the last 3 months than I have in the last 3 years. It has been amazing, and a lot of that have been you guys commenting on these, liking it, subscribing to the channel. All that stuff helps get this stuff out there. So thank you so much for everything you guys are doing. I mentioned it before. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I put out content 4 times a week. And I think it's pretty good. In addition to that, you should probably hit that notification bell and turn notifications on, because every so often I have strong opinions about things, and I will make videos about things that are interesting to me, or things that I feel that I can improve the conversation around, and those are not going to come out at my regular time. So if you got that notification bell on, you don't have to worry about missing a single video I put out. In the comments below, what are you going to make your Wildfire Spirit look like? Is it going to be a fire squirrel? Is it going to be a little fire fairy? Is it going to be a fire pine cone? I want to know in the comments below what you're making your Wildfire Spirit. Anyway, that is all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye!